Hi, my name is Heather and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a different kind of video. I'm going to be doing a book review. So welcome if you are new here. I just want to quickly remind you to please like and subscribe. Also, this is my dog, if you're wondering what that is. Please like and subscribe and let me know if you like these types of videos. I want to try this kind of video because I do read a lot. Books are a huge part of my life. If I'm not making videos, I'm probably reading. Why not combine the two? I enjoy watching people's book reviews and just talking about books in general. One thing I really like about these videos is you don't have to necessarily read the book they're talking about to enjoy them. If you're just looking for books to read, it could give you inspiration, or I just like hearing people talk about books. I think it's really interesting, so if you're into that, stick around. But yeah, just let me know. I'm trying this out, so if you like it, please definitely comment below. Let me know if you want to just hear me talk about books in general, include them in my vlogs, do like book vlogs, reading vlogs, just talk about the books I'm reading in general, you know? Just let me know. Let's get right into the book that we're talking about today, which is The Perfect Marriage by Jeneva Rose. This is a psychological suspense thriller. Obviously, there's infidelity and murder involved. I actually got sent this. I was in a book exchange on Instagram. So I got sent this book and then I read it in like a day and a half. I loved it. Let's just give you a little overview about what this book is actually about. Lots of stuff going on. And obviously, it's not The Perfect Marriage if you couldn't figure that out by now. The main characters are Sarah Morgan and Adam Morgan. They are a married couple. Sarah is a very successful defense attorney in Washington, D.C. Her husband is a writer. He has one successful book, but he's kind of just like not really writing at the moment. He writes, but like nothing crazy going on, not that successful. He kind of seems a little threatened by Sarah's power and Sarah's work ethic because she's always working. She's very successful. He feels that she's not giving him enough time and attention, being that she's one of the most successful attorneys in Washington, D.C. It's kind of just like an overview of their relationship. The couple has a vacation home about an hour and a half away, a lake house. Sarah is always super busy. The book kind of opens up on their anniversary. She has to work late. She doesn't know if she can meet him at the lake house. He goes to the lake house. He likes to do a lot of his writing there. Sarah is very rarely there, obviously, because she's busy. We've established that. She's a hardworking wife. She's like the breadwinner. Society is developing, but I still feel like there's that stigma that like if your wife is the breadwinner, the man can be very offended. Like he feels like he needs to be the breadwinner, the caretaker of the family. So I definitely see that dynamic going on right off the bat. But anyways, he goes to the lake house and that's when we learn about his mistress. Her name is Kelly Summers, and they have been seeing each other for about a year. Every time he goes to the lake house, or most times he goes to the lake house, since it's like an hour and a half away, he has his own mistress there. They're both married. She is married to a cop, Sheriff, I forgot his name, Scott Summers, I believe his name is. Sheriff in that town an hour and a half away. They're both unhappy in their marriage. They're both cheating on their spouses, and they find comfort in each other where their current relationships are lacking. On that anniversary, Adam goes up, he sees Kelly at the lake house. He kind of decides that he wants to leave Sarah after that night. They spent the night together and then they end up falling asleep, and Adam had said that he would meet Sarah back at the house. So he wakes up in the middle of the night and realizes he must have fallen asleep and he was still at the lake house, and so he rushes back home. He leaves the mistress there, leaves her a little note saying, "It's always been you, I love you," and basically like the maid is going to be here around 9 a.m. Please make sure you're gone before then. But he basically said it's always been her, and that he was alluding to leaving his current relationship for her. He gets home, his wife is in the bed, Sarah. She wakes up when he gets home and they have a little conversation. Then they get intimate and decide that they want to have a child together. Very quickly he makes the decision, oh, okay, so I'm gonna leave the mistress, in his head. They have unprotected sex and then they decide they want to have a child together. Next morning, Sarah is off to work. Adam is woken up by police officers at his door saying that they found Kelly Summers dead in their bed in the lake house an hour and a half away. From there, to the end of the book. It's just very quick paced. Nothing is like slow. It's definitely a page turner for sure, and I really enjoyed that about this book. It was so perfectly paced. I know a lot of people don't like dual point of views, how you could it's Sarah's point of view and then it's Adam's back and forth. I actually really enjoyed that because you got a little more insight on what's going on in the case on Sarah's side and then what's going on in Adam's head throughout the entire book. Now, so obviously Sarah finds out that he's been cheating on her and the mistress is killed and she doesn't know what to believe, if he did it. But in the promise of I do, when they were married, she decided, okay, I need to defend my husband. I'm his best shot. I am one of the best defense attorneys in the state. I need to defend him. So that's kind of how the whole trial unfolds. It goes back and forth between court dates and then just like Sarah's point of view, Adam's point of view, and everything that kind of goes down, all the drama in between the trial and just everything that happened. Obviously there's like conflict of interest because she's the wife and there's infidelity involved, so is she really going to do her best effort to defend him? All that kind of stuff. It's very interesting, which I don't really know, would that be allowed in today's court of law? I'm not like an expert. I just found it really interesting the way it played out. So yeah, basically now that's kind of the spoiler-free portion of this video. So if you want to read this book, I would stop here. I rated it a 5 out of 5. So that's all you got to know if you want to read the book. If you have read the book or you're just interested and don't really care to read the book but you want to know what I thought, you keep watching. So overall, I thought Adam was a sleazebag. I hated him, truly. Like at first, like I kind of understood where he was coming from, but I'm also like, infidelity is never okay, cheating's never okay. So already off the bat, it's like he was making excuses for himself, that he felt unfulfilled in his marriage, and in his head you could just see that he thought he was right like a lot of the time, and he was making excuses for himself and like saying he's a good person and blah blah blah. I do feel like most cheaters like do think that way, but I just felt like he was insufferable throughout like most of the book, because the amount of times that he didn't cooperate with authorities, it dug him deeper into, okay, now even though you're on trial for murder, you're also going to get years in prison because of the way you acted. He fought police officers, he escaped, and the fact that he went from having his affair and a couple hours later going home to have unprotected sex with his wife to conceive a child, that like by itself, like what kind of person do you have to be like be able to like get into that mindset, you know what I mean? He was just like insufferable in my opinion. I feel like he got what he deserved at the end. Was he wrongfully convicted? Yes, but we'll get more into that. He ended up being put on trial for double homicide, I believe, because the mistress was killed and it turns out she was pregnant with his unborn child. So he was on trial for a case of a woman that he had an affair with, that he presumably loved, with his unborn child in the womb, which he didn't know about and no one knew about. So that was interesting. And at the very early stages of him getting arrested, his manager found out and called him up and was like, you need to write a book like this, we can make money off of this. And he was like a little bit hesitant, but overall he was like, okay, this is a good idea, I can tell my story, I can make money, blah blah blah. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're being put on trial for murder, you cheated on your wife, you're being put on trial for murder, and all you can think about is yourself. It's just so, ugh, I hated it. One thing I will say about this book is I never suspected the ending at all. Like, I just wasn't expecting it. I don't think anyone was. We're not gonna talk about the end yet, okay? This book threw me for a loop. I suspected so many different people within this book to be the murderer. I expected Anne, who is Sarah's assistant. She ultimately had taken a photograph of Adam and his mistress and like threatened him that like, end it or I will, and like sent him the photo, and this was brought up in the investigation. And she like just didn't tell Sarah about the affair, and it was because like she didn't want to break the news to her because she cared so much for Sarah. So at first I was like, okay, this is a little fishy. Maybe she was the killer. Maybe she was just that obsessed with Sarah that like she wanted like to kill the mistress. It was like, I expected that. Then I suspected Kelly's husband. Obviously I feel like in any case, the spouse is gonna be the number one suspect. And he found out like if she was cheating on him, like obviously number one suspect would be him. Then in a weird turn of events, Kelly's real name wasn't Kelly, it was Jenna, and she changed her name because she was charged with murdering her first husband. And then she basically got off because some of the key evidence went missing, and the sheriff on that case was her current husband. The sheriff was someone coming back to get her, to kill her because she killed her ex-husband, you know what I mean? We find out that Sarah's partner in her firm, whose name is Bob, he is actually related to Kelly's first husband. He's his brother. So obviously there's motive there. So really I just thought it could have been anyone. The end of the book, I think it says like 10 years later or 11 years later, and we find out that it is Adam's execution day. So he was charged, he was found guilty, and his execution day, and we still don't know what happened. We still don't know who the murderer is. We still don't know like how it all went down. I really loved that the fact that like we really didn't know what happened till the very, very end. Sarah was the murderer, which I never, ever, ever, ever expected, which I guess like I should have, because like obviously if Sarah knew about the cheating and all that, like she has perfect motive. No one ever like accused her or anything. But looking back, I don't remember there being any like, since we were in Sarah's point of view for a lot of it, I was kind of confused looking back because I feel like there were pieces of evidence that she was shocked by, and it was kind of like misleading to the reader. She ended up knowing way before anyone else that he was cheating on her, and her partner in the firm was Kelly's ex-husband's brother. So they teamed up and said, okay, Kelly needs to go. She's cheating. She is the other woman in this affair, and she killed my brother. Let's frame Adam for murder. She ultimately drugged Kelly and Adam, their drinks. She roofied them basically, and she stabbed Sarah 37 times. I still am confused why Adam like didn't turn on any lights when he was like leaving the house, and like how he didn't notice that like she was dead next to him and she was like covered in blood. Like I remember one line of the book, it was like gross. He was like, he touched her and she was like wetter than usual, and like that's disgusting first of all, but like how do you not notice it was blood? And then he wiped his hands on his pants, and so clearly there was blood there if he wiped his hands on his pants, and that was never brought up again. The sheriffs didn't bring anything up, like the investigation didn't bring anything up, so that was kind of a loose end there. This is kind of going all over the place. I literally just finished this last night, so like it's fresh in my mind. Another loose end was like, why was Sarah like shocked at certain pieces of information if she literally commit the murder? The author never really left any hints of her being like her wickedness, her like sly like evilness that comes out at the end, because she admits to the reader that she murdered she murdered her. Adam got executed, and she was smiling and was so happy when he died, watching him die. And there was a scene with her and his mother. They were watching him be executed together, and eventually the mom was like, I'm so sorry for everything. And then Sarah was like, I'm not. And then framed him for murder. And the way she said it was just like, ooh, she didn't care. It was like feminine rage at its peak, and it was like so interesting to read. Then she talks more about how her mother had died when she was younger. due to drug overdose. That was like mentioned earlier in the book, and then she at the end was like, when I found my mom's unconscious body with she was found with like 3 needles by the police of heroin, and she was like, the 1 needle of heroin wouldn't have done it with my mom's tolerance, but the 2 others, or the 3 others that I put in her arm did it. She was slowly killing herself anyway. So like she basically killed her mom and was like, she was dying anyways, and then she killed his mistress and was like, didn't think he deserved a divorce because then he was entitled to half her money, and she didn't think he was entitled to that, which like, I know she's a bad person, but honestly slay. Like, I kind of loved that. I loved the feminine rage like aspect of it, like the gender roles basically like flipping kind of. I enjoyed that part of it. Even though she was a psychopath, I feel like she was like a badass, and maybe that's wrong of me to say, but I kind of loved it. I rated this a 5 out of 5, but I think like looking back, maybe it was more of a 4. There were just a couple loose ends. Kelly had a stalker that would like watch her at her local cafe that she worked at, and nothing was ever like brought from that. Like, he was questioned, he was found innocent, but like, okay, she had a stalker, and that kind of never really played out. And then also just like little things like the blood on the pants, that was never like talked about again. And then also how Adam and Sarah tried to conceive, and then like at one point in court she was so nauseous and like she threw up, so it kind of hinted at like morning sickness, but also nothing ever came out of that. Like, it kind of seemed like it was brought up for a reason that she threw up, and then nothing was ever like brought up from that. But other than that, I feel like it was very well written and definitely shocking. Definitely, it was a page turner. I finished it so quickly, and I definitely need to read more thrillers. I feel like I always say my favorite genre is romance, but then like I read thrillers so quick. I've read 2 thrillers this year and I loved both of them, and I've read them faster than any other book I've ever read. So I need to read more thrillers for sure, because that was really interesting. I think it was very well written and I really, really enjoyed it. So my rating was a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. But I think it would probably be close to like a 4 or 4.5, just because of a couple of the loose ends, and like, I don't know if the author planned for her to be the murderer from the start, but if she did, she kind of misled us a little bit, because in Sarah's point of view, she never, like, she seemed shocked by information, and like she never left any like little hints throughout the whole book that it could have been her. So I don't know, but I did like that twist. It was just like, was it written as well as it could have been with little hints throughout? Maybe not. With all that being said, overall, those were my thoughts on The Perfect Marriage. Sorry it was kind of all over the place. I definitely, the next time I do one of these, I'm gonna organize my thoughts a little better, but this was just kind of like rambling about different parts of the book, and I'm sure I left a lot out. I can't remember what I talked about, but if you read this book, please let me know what you thought. So many thoughts, so many good and negative thoughts. I saw online somewhere that they're making this into a movie, but I don't know how true that is. If they are, I would love that. I feel like this would make a perfect movie, the way it's paced, and just the story of it is so interesting. So please remember to like and subscribe, and please do tell me what you thought. If you want to see more book stuff, if you don't, I probably will show anyways, because this is my channel. But if you want to see more, definitely let me know, because I think it's really fun to talk about books. I read all the time and it's a huge part of my life, so I'd love to share that part with you if you're into it. So let me know. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers, and that's my goal at the moment, and it would mean so much if you would get me there, please. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.